First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for making the time today to be here, to come here. Uh, it really means a lot to me that, we have a gathering here that is interested in knowing more about how our legal system works, how, we can navigate around the issues that we have in our day-to-day lives from a legal perspective. And apart from that, what is my journey all about? So, the interest that you guys have shown and the time you've taken to come out here, I'm truly grateful for that. So we'll begin with something. Knowledge is power, right? How many of you have heard this quote, knowledge is power, before? By a show of hands, okay? So we've all heard this quote before, of course. It's very common. We see it everywhere on motivational posters. Whenever there's like a talk in our company, they're trying to teach us something. So it's something that they often put in their PowerPoint presentations. But there's another quote by the great Iranian philosopher Imam Ghazali, which says that knowledge without action is vanity, and action without knowledge is insanity. Okay. So, what he's trying to say, and what I'm trying to talk about today, is the knowledge that we require, or that we think we require, or what is actually required in order to be conscious citizens, in order to make sure that we know what it takes to navigate around the common struggles and issues that we face in our cities. The knowledge that we require, or that we should have, in order to be able to understand how to get ourselves out of various situations that we might find ourselves stuck in. So before we get to all that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Dushyant Dubey. I'm originally from a city called Ahmedabad in Gujarat, and my native actually is Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh. So I'm from that part where the entire country, the center point of the whole country is. Because of that, I've had a lot of exposure to different cultures and everything, like growing up. And as it was rightly mentioned, my father also, he was an industrialist, but he used to do a lot of social work on the side. So he raised me like that. And my father was the one actually who raised me with a lot of knowledge. So I remember being 6 years old. That's one of my first earliest memories that I have. And my dad used to, like, because he was traveling a lot for business. So whenever he was home, he would sit me down with him in front of the TV, and my dad would either watch cricket or he would watch news. Okay. So whenever there was news, he'd sit me down and he'd explain to me, look, this is what's happening, this is what the government's doing, and I'm like, I'm six, dad. Okay. But it was good, because my father gave me a lot of exposure to what was going on, how things are supposed to be, what are the laws in this country, what are the political happenings, what's actually going on. Even the knowledge that there are no corporators in this city right now should be a lot more common than it actually is. But a lot of people simply don't know or don't bother to know. So growing up in that sort of an environment, seeing my dad, help people out and do whatever it took for him to be there for others, gave me that inspiration, sort of put that in my formative years, in my personality, that I need to do something like this as well. Since the past 10, 12 years, I've been doing social work in some form or the other. In Bangalore, I help people with any problem that they have. I've been here since 8 years. So any issue whatsoever, big or small, someone's cat is lost, I'll help them out. Someone has a real serious criminal case or a civil case that they have to fight, I'll tell them how to do it. If somebody doesn't have anyone to go with them to the police station, I'll accompany them. If they don't know how to write their police complaint, I'll sit with them and I'll write it. And I've done this countless times. I've been to hundreds of police stations in Bangalore. This phone that I have here, this particular phone, the number in it is in the phones of 40,000 people in Bangalore who messaged me over the years to save it in case they run into an emergency. So, that's the kind of work I do. No problem, big or small, wherever it is in Bangalore, I'll help. And because of the efforts and because of what I've been doing over a long period of time, I've started to get the support of a lot of wonderful people like you guys. And today we have this small organization called St. Joseph Army, which just hit 5,000 volunteers a few days ago. Thank you so much. So many people, exactly like yourselves, came forward and said, we also want to do our bit. Many of these people were people who I helped in some way or the other at some point. And then my thing is, once I help somebody, I don't like bother them after that. It's like that. Obviously, I don't charge anything for anything that I do. Even to the extent that I've spent thousands and thousands of rupees, like huge amounts, helping some people with their problems because that's what it really took to, or it was required to, do in that situation. But people by themselves feel like, okay, this person's doing something good. I also need to come forward and, do something for the society. So many of them have joined us. People who were previously victims. I can tell you the case of a girl in central Bangalore itself. She was the meekest, shyest girl, that you could ever meet. Like just a, skinny girl. Just she would walk around like this wherever she went. And one time, unfortunately, there was an incident that happened with her, which I wouldn't want to elaborate on, but I guess it's pretty obvious what might have happened. I wrote her complaint, took her to the police station, took multiple visits to the police station, escalated the matter to the senior officials. She got the person, like they finally arrested the guy, detained the guy. She identified him, and now he has been sentenced to prison by the actual district court. So this person who actually did something to this girl is now in prison, and we made that happen. But the story doesn't end there. After this happened, that meek and shy girl, she became a coordinator of our Central Bangalore chapter. And she started helping other women out and other people out who were in similar situations. She started accompanying them to police stations. And now, if anyone even dares to eve tease her, she knows the law. She knows what is to be done. And she just stands there and confronts them. Hey, I'll take you to the police station. You know who I am. You know what I can do as a citizen of India. I know my rights. I'll take you to the police station. I'll make sure you go to jail. I've already sent one person. And this girl today is the chapter head of our Central Bangalore chapter. In just under a year, this is the kind of transformation she's had. So, this is a little bit about what I do. Now, we'll do a little show and tell. Basically, I'll show you something, and let's see if you can tell me something about it. Okay? So, we've got this book here. Okay? I'll read it out for you. You might not be able to read it. It says Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. So, how many of you know like what this book is? Like by a show of hands? Okay, you know. Okay, great. But most of us, we don't know what this is. So Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, you might remember it in its former avatar. Maybe the previous version might help you understand what this is. Here's the Indian Penal Code. Okay, this one we know, right? We are aware of this one. So they've just released the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which is now the new criminal laws in this country. So what that means is that there are so many new laws or so many different ways in which the laws are now written. There's so many laws. It's such a thick book, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. So how as regular citizens are we supposed to remember everything? How are we supposed to know everything? We're not lawyers. We didn't study this for our, for our exams. But studying for exams brings me to another point. When you, in your school days or college days, you guys went to give exams, I'm sure all of you studied, right? I mean, at least like to varying degrees, we all studied a little bit or a lot in order to prepare for those exams and give the paper. But whenever there's a situation, imagine there's a situation where you find yourself in a legal quandary of some sort, a legal problem, and you suddenly have to give one of the biggest exams of your life. And this is an exam that you're truly not prepared for. You have no idea what to do in this situation. Because when the situation happens, you don't know whether to call the police or not to call the police. If I call the police, then you call 112, the cops come. They say, they handle the situation immediately and they tell you, come to the police station, madam. Come to the police station, sir. Do your complaint there. Then you go there and you actually start writing your complaint. I mean, they tell you, write it on a paper. You write it in your, you're already sort of, you're a little shaken up from the incident. You're not in your complete senses. You don't know what you're doing, like for the most part. You're just still in a state of shock for, most of the times. And you write some account of the events. They take it and they give you a acknowledgement or they give you a non-cognizable report. These things also, some of us might not know what these things are and what the distinctions are between these different legal terminologies. So I'd like to talk a little bit about those things as well. The difference between knowing and not knowing could be the difference between a person. I'm telling you, this is like a real case just a few days ago. This could be the difference between a person being let off with a fine and the difference between a person getting imprisoned for life, okay, in a single version of events, okay? Like the same event, but interpreted or written in two different ways could have two completely different outcomes. So I'll share the case with you. A few days ago, some of you might have read it in the newspapers. There was a person from the LGBTQ community, okay? He went to meet somebody on like a random date on this app called Grindr. So he met this person. I mean, he was supposed to go meet this person, so he went there. And this person is an immigrant. He's not from here, and he's from a very, not a great financial background, but he had a little bit, he had come here. His parents had given him some money, go there and find a job. So he just, was very stressed with everything, and he thought, okay, let me go meet somebody and, relax a little bit. So he went and met this person, okay? This person takes him into the apartment. They go inside the bedroom, and there are three other guys who come out of the bathroom, okay? Just bolt into the room and just mercilessly beat this person up, okay? It was a hate crime, okay? It was criminal, it was illegal restraint, it was illegal confinement, wrongful restraint, wrongful confinement. It was burglary, it was robbery, in fact, robbery and various sections of robbery. He was beaten up so badly with weapons. So there was this section that we know as causing hurt with grievous injury with a weapon. So grievous injury because he had a wound on his head which was bleeding. There were marks on his face. He had multiple, major injuries. Fractures, 4 ribs were fractured. Okay. So grievous injury. Okay. Then grievous injury with weapon because they used this long of a knife and the blunt side, like the grip of the knife, to hit him with it, and many other weapons. So robbery with that sort of physical harm, right? And several other sections that, were put along the way. When his blood fell to the ground, they made him clean his own blood with like a washcloth. So such a brutal incident, right? And when this person goes to the police, immediately, like in that shaken up state, he goes to the police and they register an FIR for simple hurt, which means something like a slap, okay? They register an FIR for simple hurt with weapon, which is the only cognizable offense, by the way, in that FIR. And they register the FIR for criminal intimidation, which means somebody gave you a threat. They threatened to kill him if he did not give up his card, ATM card pin. They threatened to kill him if he did not give them, his banking passwords and whatever he had. They snatched his rings, gold rings, everything, all this stuff. But look at what the police did. They registered such a basic FIR. If that weapon part was not included, it wouldn't even be an FIR. It would be a non-cognizable report. And the non-cognizable report, I'll keep telling you guys, a little bit about this stuff as I go. A non-cognizable report means that this is something that the police recognizes as a non-cognizable offense. So how many of you here know the difference between a cognizable offense and a non-cognizable offense? Anyone? Okay, let's talk about it. It's not common knowledge. Unfortunately, we should be taught this stuff in schools and colleges, right? But it's not common knowledge. So a cognizable offense is something that the police can register an FIR for. Now, to understand that statement, we need to understand what an FIR is, okay? The first information FIR is basically the first time that you go to the police station with the information about a crime that has happened to you or somebody you know, or that you're a witness to it. Actually, even that is a thing. You can register an FIR if you're merely a witness to some incident, but people don't know this. So when you go to the police station and register and apply to register an FIR, which is basically you give a complaint. So on the basis of what you've written in the complaint, they apply certain sections as per the Indian Penal Code previously and Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita now in a couple of months. So they apply those sections to figure out what the crime is and register this official report in the police system that this is what has happened, and these sections apply as per the laws that exist in our country's constitution or whatever we have been given in the IPC. So when they register this FIR is when they actually start an investigation from the police's side, where then next step after that is, here they call it Mazhar. It's basically Panchnama, or in English we can call it a spot verification. So you are supposed to bring two people to come with you and the police to the spot where the crime actually physically happened. If it's a cyber crime, then the procedure is a little different. So you're supposed to bring those people, not immediately that day. Sometimes they do it the same day, sometimes they do it a few days later. So you do the spot verification. That's formality number one. Then you are called, your witnesses are called. If somebody saw it, if somebody has actually seen the crime happen that you have provided the information about, those people will have to come and their information, they will be recording their statements. So that will have to be done. By the way, when you do spot verification, your witnesses also have to come back to the police station and sign that the police actually did their job. After this, you will have to go to the court one time with the police to actually tell the magistrate that, yeah, this is what happened. The police actually recorded my statement correctly. This is actually what happened. And your witnesses will have to come too. And when you do a police case, which is under the IPC, then it is not your case. You're not supposed to be you're not needed to hire a lawyer. It is called a public prosecutor because it's a police case. The police case is fought by the police, not you. You're just a witness. You're just the victim or the witness, whatever. And the government lawyer, public prosecutor, represents your case in the court. So you interface with that particular government lawyer in order to get your case going through. Accused criminal will actually be hiring a lawyer because they need somebody to represent them. Government will not provide that lawyer. So that person then, that lawyer might call you to the court for some cross-examination, to protect their own client. So these are all the different formalities that happen when you actually go and file a criminal case in the police station, which is only done through an FIR. If the police gives you something like called an acknowledgement or a non-cognizable report, then there is no case. Nothing is going on actually, okay? They're not going to do anything. Only if there's an FIR are they bound to take some action. So now coming back to cognizable and non-cognizable offences, cognizable is what they can do an FIR for, and in these law books there are many crimes that they cannot do an FIR for, which are non-cognizable, considered non-cognizable. So the difference between that is that non-cognizable offences, you have to go to the court with that non-cognizable report and an application to the magistrate that this crime has happened with me. I request you to please register, to please give the order to the police to register my FIR. That is unfortunately the process for various crimes. So if you're going on the street and somebody slaps you, or somebody just punches you without any injury or without like a weapon, you cannot actually get the police procedure started right away, like in an official sense. You have to go to the court with that. First, you have to go give your complaint, get that NCR, and then go to the court, get that approval from the court, and finally, your case will move forward when you then present that order to the police station. So, this knowledge is not common, unfortunately. But what happens, like I'd mentioned in the previous cases, even when people have a cognizable offense that they can actually get an FIR done for, they don't know. They simply don't know. And the police, of course, the police do not want to work. That is a very obvious thing that I have, come to learn after doing thousands of rounds at police stations, is that they genuinely don't want to work, which is why even if you go there with a crime that is supposed to be cognizable, that they're supposed to be taking an FIR for, they will tell you, sir, this is this offense, so and they will record it in their own way. And you not having the knowledge actually makes it so that your case will not be taken forward. Nothing will be done about it. They will do something to make you feel, okay, something was done. I did something. But actually, the justice you deserved will not happen to you. But then again, brings us back to our original question. How much knowledge are we actually required to have in order to be, survive in this country as a citizen? Because you never know when this exam might happen. So how much preparation do you need to do for it? And so I want to ask a question again. Do you guys have any, so obviously, none of us really know, but because the answer keeps changing. How many laws are there in this country? Like any random guess, okay? So would you like to guess, just any number? Just any random number. There's no wrong answer. Because, 100, okay. Any other? How about you?
Finite number because there are multiple laws and sub-laws.
Yeah.
And so no authority in India can definitively state that this is the total number of laws.
Yeah.
They still in the process of being documented and figured out.
Yeah, interpretations can be different, but the actual number of laws are,
Including say bylaws, including say notifications, etc. is going to
yeah, that's like a crazy number. But just to give you like an actual rough number, so still roughly it's around 1,000 laws, okay, in India. And I'd like to open my bag and show you guys a little bit of what kinds of things we have here. We've got this book, Labor and Industrial Laws. Okay, quite a big book. Obviously, a lot of these don't apply to Karnataka because via a notification in 2014 they've suspended most of these laws for the IT industry in Bangalore, which we are fighting to get repealed. Okay, that's one. Then we've got Code of Civil Procedure. So if you have a civil case which is not covered by those IPC books, then how you're supposed to do it or what's supposed to happen, it's all covered in this book. Okay? How many pages? Like 300 pages. Okay? Then you've got this other book. Oh, this is Bharatiya Nagrika Suraksha Sanhita. So this is again another Jassi Jaisi Koi Nahi because this was CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code. Now this is the new one with some good improvements, I must say. This is Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. I know a lot of you are probably into animal welfare. You know, you guys care about animals, so these are the laws that govern that. We've got the Mental Health Act. We don't even know, some of us don't know this exists, you know. This is something, although very few pages, you know. That's something that needs to be worked on. Then we've got, let's see, what else is in Santa's bag. So we've got Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. This is, again, used to be Indian Evidence Act. Now it's Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam. Then we've got cyber laws. Okay, again, a very small book. Okay, needs to be worked on. We need to add more things to this. Then we've got Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. Okay, this is something for married women. Then we've got Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act. You might know this as POSH, in workplaces, which is one of the two sort of labor laws that apply to IT industries in Karnataka. The other being the uh, constitution of a complaints redressal committee. Then there's the Indian Contract Act. This is what all your rent agreements and all your job agreements are governed by. Then we've got the old Code of Criminal Procedure, of course, and that's it. So the point is, these are just a few of them. This is not all. Okay? These are just a few of the major ones which we reference on a day-to-day basis. So what is it that we really need to know? We can't all be lawyers. We can't all, study all these laws and like figure out every single thing and be ready and prepared. But what we can do or what we should be knowing is the fact that if there's a situation that you're facing, which is different from normal. So the definition of normal might be different for different people. Obviously, what's wrong is wrong. But at least if we feel like something is a deviation from what's normal or what's acceptable, the knowledge that there has to be something in our law which could help us out here. The understanding that I need to look into the law and figure out what this thing might be so that I can figure out what my remedies are. At least having that basic sense of looking into the law to figure out what mechanisms exist in my country that can help me in this situation. For example, the IT workers in this country do not have any sort of a act to protect them. In Karnataka, all the labor laws are suspended for IT people. But think about it. There have been great leaders in this country, great, people's leaders, There have been communists, there have been socialists, there have been various people's movements all over the country. And they have fought for workers' rights. The IT sector hasn't really even started that fight, okay? But the beedi and cigar workers of this country, they fought, okay? They once fought and they got an act made for themselves. It's called the Beedi and Cigar Workers Act, sometime in the 60s. And in that act, you'll be surprised to know what things exist. There is health insurance. In the 60s, they put that in, that the company is supposed to pay for the medical expenses of any worker that actually falls sick due to the working conditions or while working at the in the industry. They're supposed to pay for it. They're supposed to take care of it. Secondly, there's a 3-month notice period, okay? And in that 3-month notice period, if the company decides to fire the worker, it doesn't end there. The worker can then challenge that firing to a committee which comprises of an equal number of company representatives and workers representatives. So not managers, workers representatives. Anyone under manager is a worker, right? So that committee will deliberate on it. They have to give their report on that firing within 30 days. So there will be union representatives in that committee as well. Okay. And then after 1 month or within 1 month, once the judgment on this thing comes, then either the person will be reinstated if he or she was unfairly, unjustly fired, or they still have 2 months to look for another job, right? So that's just a few of the things that they have put together in an act to protect the BD and cigar workers. So those guys, in my eyes, have so much more respect, than people in the IT sector who have never actually fought for their rights. So the point is that knowing that something exists or knowing that some protection might be there for me. I mean, this I talked about labor rights, labor laws, but that's a different story. But as far as the criminal laws are concerned, as far as the civil procedures are concerned, they are uniform for everybody, whether it's a BD worker or whether it's an IT worker or it's a manager or a CEO or an unemployed person. It does not make a difference. The laws exist for everybody equally. So knowing that there have been some really great people, like we celebrated Republic Day 2 years ago, the day our Constitution actually came into effect. So the committee which made the Constitution, headed by, of course, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, who put together a lot of laws in this country's constitution to make sure that people are protected. And subsequently, there have been many great people in various governments who have done a great job at amending those laws, adding more laws to them. And there are lots of provisions and protections for all of us. Now, of course, unlike our previous generations, we have access to the internet. We have access to a lot of great law websites, that we can go to and research on the case a little bit and figure out what needs to be done. We also have, you guys might have in your circle some lawyers or legal experts. So the point I'm trying to make is that it's not that difficult for us to be able to figure these things out. It's not that difficult for us to be able to understand what has truly happened to us. And it's not that difficult for us to know what our rights are in different situations. Another thing I want to emphasize is please don't give in. If you ever find yourself, God forbid, in any sort of an untoward situation, you don't have to give in to the police. If you're the victim, you have all the power. If you're the victim, you have all the rights. If you're the victim, you can tell the police, I'll come tomorrow. I need to do this research today. I will come to the police station when I'm ready, Or if it's a case that requires an immediate medical examination, then you go to the hospital, get it done. So I'll explain that procedure quickly to you guys as well. If there's anything, any kind of a crime that happens that causes a medical issue, like if it's like some sort of an injury or a fracture or a sexual crime of some sort, your first course of action, without taking a shower, without changing your clothes or anything, is to go to the hospital, any recognized hospital, as in any random hospital which is functional will have this facility. You have to go there and you have to get something done called MLC. It's like medico-legal case. So when you do that medico-legal case is when the evidence of your injury gets recorded. That is evidence. As per the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam, that is the evidence. So many times it happens, some sexual crime happens to a woman and they go home immediately, take a shower, wash their clothes and they're just so traumatized. They just want to feel a little bit better. So it's completely understandable. But in the process, we have lost so much evidence that could have helped us in implicating that particular criminal. So it's extremely important to go there and to make sure your injury, your medical predicament is actually appropriately recorded. And after that, composing a proper complaint. I use this term a lot, when I talk to people in our St. Joseph Army. Proper complaint, which means to describe the issue properly, to ensure each and every part of the incident is actually mentioned in a language which provokes the code and the Indian Penal Code and the provisions and the sections therein. Whatever has happened has to be recorded. And thirdly, to present all the available evidence. You might not even think it is evidence, but it is. Certain things like whether you were there. So there are two types of evidence: circumstantial evidence and forensic evidence. Circumstantial evidence is something happened to me here. Now, to establish that circumstance, the CCTV footage of you going there, the CCTV footage of you coming out of there, during that time period, something has happened. So at least it establishes you in that circumstance. That is circumstantial evidence. And forensic evidence is actual proof of what has happened. So it could be a CCTV recording of the incident taking place. It could be an audio recording. It could be a video recording. It could be DNA evidence. It could be the injury that you've gotten recorded in your MLC. So all those things exist, and knowing that these things are there and knowing that you have to go through at least this much of a basic procedure in order to get the justice that you deserve for the crime is what's required. So just this knowledge alone, that some laws exist, some founding fathers of this country or some great leaders of the country have actually at some point thought about the situations that I'm going through, and they've put that in the law. Knowing that and having that little bit of faith in our judicial system and our laws, as long as you have that little bit of faith, I'm sure you can navigate around it. Obviously, there are lawyers that exist for these purposes. Not all of us might be able to afford them, but legal advice is abundantly available online. And if you, obviously, I'm there in Bangalore, if you need any sort of support with any such situation, that goes without saying. So that's what we need to know. That's what we need to learn, just to be a little bit aware of what can actually happen. All this stuff, I mean, I've obviously purchased it because I need physical books, but literally every single one of these books is available online. All the laws are available online. There are forums, there are lawyers' forums where they discuss laws, so there's various kinds of information that you can go through in order to navigate around your situation. While concluding this talk, I just want to emphasize on a couple of points finally. There is no alternative to reporting a crime. Okay, I just want to emphasize this extremely clearly to all of you. There is no alternative to reporting a crime. No matter what the crime is, whether you might think it's not a big deal or a really big deal, you have to report it. You have to go to the police station and you have to go as per the CRPC and get it reported. Because what happens is when we let these criminals go, when we let these perpetrators go, the same people become even more brazen the next time. If they've committed a small and simple crime to you today, they'll commit an even more severe crime to somebody even more helpless tomorrow. Today, they've committed it against you. You're an educated, fairly empowered individual. Tomorrow, it might be somebody who may not have that background, who may not have that foundation that you do, that you can actually launch your legal battle with. So the same criminal will do that again, going unpunished. Then the same criminal will do something bigger, a bigger level of crime, a bigger level of fraud. And as this cycle keeps going on, people will see this person does crimes and nothing happens to him or nothing happens to her. And the same people end up being our representatives. The same people end up getting elected because everybody fears them and respects them out of the same fear. I don't want to name anybody, but there are so many people around us that are absolute criminals, that are currently occupying positions in the Vidhan Sabha. The assembly that our founding fathers imagined would be a place where welfare of the state would be discussed, where the welfare of the country would be discussed, where public benefit schemes would be brought into the forefront, and these things would be tabled and nice discussions would happen amongst people who care for the society. That Vidhan Sabha is now populated by people with insane criminal backgrounds because people like us did not report their crimes when they first began. So with that, I would just like to conclude this talk. This has been Saint Broseph. You guys can, stay in touch with me on Instagram. The handle is Saint_BROSEPHS, Saint Brosephs. My phone number is out there. I'll give it to you. All of you can save it in case you ever, again, God forbid, run into any trouble in Bangalore. It's 6363 799 599. So please feel free to call me or message me anytime any of you are in any trouble in Bangalore, or even if you're unsure that what you've gone through is trouble, just let me know and we'll figure it out. This number is 24/7 on. I am 24/7 on. So whatever it is that's needed, I'll be there. I have a website, broseph.in, which is just a bunch of links. So you can join various Saint Broseph Army chapters from there. They are very nice communities of very good people like yourselves who have come forward to help each other out. There's a whole bunch of very nice people in Bangalore looking out for you so that you guys may never feel like you're alone or, uncared for in this city ever again. So that's, my effort, and that's a promise. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Thankful to you. Thank you.